Well, hello, hello. Welcome back to day two of let's get your new year started. Prep for success with myself and Teresa Hawthorne. So, welcome back, Teresa. You're back
Hello,
again.
hello. Glad to be back with you today.
Yes, yes, we're back for day two. We're super excited about day two. We are talking all about productivity, or sorry, organization today.
Yes.
Productivity is tomorrow, but we'll be talking about organization today and how you can get organized for success, especially as we're approaching towards the new year. But first, before we get started, I just wanted to see what you felt about yesterday, Teresa. How did you feel yesterday went, and what are some of the things that you took away from our quick topic on, breaking through burnout and finishing the year
Mhm.
on fire but not fried? What are like the top things that you walked away from that discussion with?
Uh, for me, it was just a reminder to have some proactive ways to, when you find yourself in the thick of it,
Hmm.
having a way to bring yourself back, being self aware, knowing what you need, and carving out the time to give yourself those things, whether it's a walk, um, deep breathing, a dance party, whatever it is that you need, know what you need and be willing to take the time to give yourself that. So, what about you? What are some takeaways for you?
For me, it was just about like you had the same thing that you had mentioned, just being aware with your situation and making those proactive steps to say, here are things that I need to delegate, here are things that I need to do, and saying, hey, we can move certain things off to another season. Sometimes we're very hard on ourselves, but giving
Mhm.
ourselves grace, speaking into ourselves, those affirmations that saying, we can get through this. And maybe we're not able to do it in this season, but perhaps the next season is something that perhaps we can move this towards. So I feel like that is something that was speaking to me. And as I am getting here towards the end of the year and just looking at things that I have to do, I'm taking that note myself. Like you said, we're preaching to our own self.
Yes, absolutely. That's absolutely right. And one of the things that really stuck with me from yesterday is um, just honestly knowing what you need. Know what you need.
Yeah.
There's a level of introspection that's required for that,
Mhm.
and you got to be willing to do it. Know what you need. Um, Journaling again helps me a lot, and make journaling, or for me, a big thing is prayer. Make those a part of your daily routine
Mhm.
to
Yeah.
fortify yourself as you go in. Hmm.
Absolutely. You need to do that. You need to do
Yeah.
that. I love that you journal. I'm a journaler too. I need to do it a little bit more, but I love journaling. Definitely
Hmm.
helps. So today we're talking about organization. And
Yeah.
before we pop in, if any of you jump in and you're here again, I'll reiterate, if you're here on the replay, definitely let us know by putting in the comments that you're here on the replay. And then if you're here live with us, welcome. We love it that you're here with
Yeah.
us. You're able to
Yeah.
kind of speak to us during this experience. I do see all of your comments. So should a comment come up that we want to also incorporate, we will definitely do that. So make sure you go
Yes.
ahead and comment. Don't be scared. Just go ahead and get in there. We want to hear from you too. But I'm excited to start and talk about getting organized for the new year because many times as we're going through the year, we start off really well, right? We start off so well, so organized, high aspirations on the year, but then towards the end of the year, you can see that slacking a little bit.
Yeah.
But many times we wait until December, right, to start to reorganize ourselves back again and get a game plan for that next year. And I think when me and Teresa talked, we're talking about this now for a reason, right, Teresa? It's not, it's so that we can be more proactive. So the question is like, why are we taking that time out now to prepare and organize for the new year? Like, why do we do it now versus doing it that last week of December?
Um, that's a really good question. And for me, being an organizer, I really emphasize to my clients that organization is really about helping you function better and not about, you'll hear me say a lot, not about bins, tins, and baskets. Sometimes when you think about organization, you immediately go to bins and tins and baskets and containers, but it's really about helping you flow in your life and function better. That's what it's all about.
Yes, and that's not always, like you said, it's not just like the bins and the baskets, although it could be like our
Sure.
physical space and how we handle our work is very important. But it also is just how we're organizing our mindset, right? For I feel
Absolutely.
like that next year or some things that might be cluttering us up there that we need to probably declutter. And then also just digitally, we have so much going on digitally and so many things collect. You're downloading this, you're doing that. And it's important to take some time out and just really do a cleansing, just like most people do that spring cleaning.
Yeah.
We need to take time in every season of our lives to really continue to do some of that cleansing
Mhm.
and organizing. So I think it's very important so that you don't lose sight of what is important.
That's absolutely true. And, you hear a lot of things about organizing. But my definition for organizing is gaining control of your environment, your possessions, your information, and your time,
Mhm.
and creating the systems and processes that allow you to maintain that control. So, if you find that you've organized, but then, 2 weeks later, you have to reorganize, consider whether you organized in the first place or if you just tidied up or straightened up a bit.
Mhm.
When you truly organize, you are gaining control over whatever it is that you need to manage, and you have systems and processes to maintain that control.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
so think about, I'm glad that you mentioned seasons. Think about how you're functioning in the season that you're in, not your past season and not a future season. What organization do you need right now for the season that you're in? That becomes an important question.
Yeah, yeah. How do you organize your life for the season that you're in? And you're right, because sometimes different season brings different things. Now we're heading into the fall, and that means a lot of things, I think, within our homes, within our households, within the activities we do, the season we're in. If I have children, so the sports and just having a handle on everything there, but then combined with the busyness of your workspaces, that is really important that you prepare yourself, right, for those
Yes.
seasons and you are organized for those seasons as well. So, yeah, I would definitely agree with you.
Yeah. And then, thinking about organizing, it becomes important to consider your lifestyle. Like you just said, every person has some different things going on in their lives. You have children. I'm a caregiver. We all have different things. You have a business. I have a business. We all have different things that are pulling us, in different directions. And so, how can you organize your life um, for your lifestyle? It's great, all the Insta ready and Instagram things that you see, and the nice matching bins, tins, and baskets, and the wonderful digital filing systems that worked great for your colleague.
Hmm.
Do those work for you? Do those fit your lifestyle?
Yeah, and when some people it doesn't really do that. You know, I have a friend that has boys at home, and sometimes the bins and baskets don't necessarily work. And many times, I think that we have to allow space for some of the chaoticness
Mhm.
in our lives because many times it can be stressful making sure that everything is all boxed up in boxes and bins. So many times, like you said, it's the season that you're in, it's how your lifestyle is, and making sure that you are putting things together to support that. For me, it's all about making sure that my mornings go really well. Having myself be, I guess, at a point where I am paying attention to myself, paying attention to my health is really important to me. So
Mhm.
my day starts off with, you know, like that meditation or that devotional in the morning before I'm even laying an eye on my children.
Mhm.
And then from there, how I'm organizing it and after I get everyone ready to go is after I do my drop-offs, I go right into workout and I work out, making sure that I'm paying attention to myself before I'm giving, I guess, to others. And to me, it
Mhm.
just really helps. And then from there, doing the most important thing first. Uh, those are the things, I mean, that I have had to work really hard to get that habit in place in order to ensure that I am just my best for others and for other people. Right. So, organization can come in many facets. It can be in terms of the structure of your day as well. And many times we get to the point where things are just chaotic. Towards the end of the year, we're just kind of running into the finish line. We're panting, just trying to hand off that baton to somebody, but that somebody ends up being you. Um, so you end up having to really making sure that you're able to go for that long haul.
That's very true. When you think about organization, or when I think about organization, I should say, I think about whole life organization, not just physical organization,
Hmm.
because it again supports, it creates a foundation for you to be able to do what you do. How do you organize your day? Going back to yesterday, it's so important that you just said, you know, pouring into you first and having that ordered day where you start with you. I've had a really, I had to learn that. I had to grow into that. I would get up, and if my father needed anything, or when I was caring for my mother, if she needed anything, that always came first. And like I mentioned yesterday, I burned out quickly.
Hmm.
Um, but then learning to, even if it meant getting up earlier before I did anything for anyone else, having a morning routine that centers me, prayer, journaling, stretching, getting the kinks out of your body, just water, and eating. We, all the things that sometimes we skip that
Hmm.
really become important when our days are full. So, how do you organize your day and still include you?
Hmm.
Morning routines. I'm a proponent for morning routines. And as an ad, I'll say your morning routine goes better based on your nightly routine. So a morning routine and a nightly routine,
Yeah.
kind of the end caps to keep you um, organized, to keep your day organized.
Yeah, it is really important and making sure that you're managing those transitions well. Like you speak to, hey, organizing your days, organizing your evenings, but what happens in between? What happens with the transition? So, for example, for me, like I told you, get my kids ready to go, do my drop offs. I purposefully put on my workout clothes so that it's easy for
Mhm.
me to just work out. So
Mhm.
that's the transition. And then I allow some time there for me to get dressed so that I can slip into work mode. But then people also have to look at, okay, well, when I'm in the work mode and then I have to transition out of that, how does it look? Do you make it easy for yourself? Do you take calls all the way up until when you have to just be done? Do you allow yourself to regroup from your day, put down maybe your to-do items that you have to do for that next day, and then, then leave, kind of like a nice little transition out of your day into your evening, because those things matter and it matters for your well-being. So if you're talking about how do you organize your life for your lifestyle, if you're a person that needs some time to themselves, look at those transitions. Are you not adding in time to breathe before you get into the next thing? And if not, then making sure that we're adding those in, and we're starting to structure things now so that when you are getting towards the top of the year or whatever, you should just always kind of be in a, in a space of doing tweaks on your life, that you're just ready, and we're just living and breathing that year. And it doesn't matter if we're at the top of the year, the end of the year, middle of the year, that we're just, managing our lives and organizing along the way.
That's absolutely right. It becomes important. The way you function either will make or break what you can get to. So making that easier for yourself. How have you set things up? How do you, I'm so happy that you mentioned taking time at the end of the day to prep for the next day. That becomes important so that you can, once you do start working, you can hit the ground running. And taking the time to clear your desk. Yesterday's stuff shouldn't be in the way of you starting the day the next day. So take 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and it does not take that long to put things up. That is, if you've created a system to handle what you have to handle. If you still use paper, a lot of people still use paper. Does your filing system support you putting things back right away to where you'll know where it is the next time you need it? Digitally, are you keeping things that you don't need, like email? I once had a client who had 25,000 emails in his email box, in his inbox. Most of them were deleted because they were thank you, received, I'll get back to yous, all the things that you really don't need to keep. How are you processing your emails? Is your email overwhelming you? Is your paper overwhelming you? Is your digital filing system overwhelming you? How do you function in those spaces? And how can you organize them? What do you need to organize them so that they support a constant, easy flow of you getting into your day?
Yeah, I like that you brought up systems, because that's really important. Evaluating each system that you have, whether it's paper. I mean, but if it's paper, is it paper everywhere?
Right.
Or is it in a system? Is it in a place? I like bullet journals. My daughter actually uses a bullet journal, and I'm starting to kind of get used to the concept of the bullet journals and how you can just really utilize them for anything. It's not necessarily linear. It allows the fluidity on the page with they're kind of like little dots on the page.
Dot grids.
Yeah, like little dot grids. And, people really get into how to use those effectively and use them in a way where, you have a system within the journal. And maybe that's something that someone might want to do. Planners, if you do a planner, like digital planner, or if you do a paper planner, or whichever one it is, having some type of a planner that houses both your personal things, both your, with your combined with your professional ones, so that you're not necessarily either missing appointments or just always kind of not necessarily knowing what's going on because you have things in different places. So that's something also, I think, For example, me and my husband, we have like a combined calendar that we just have. It's on both of our phones. Anytime one of us has an appointment, we put it in a specific way. There's like a naming convention on how
Yeah.
you have to put in your appointments, which I always sometimes have to say, hey, you didn't put that
Yeah.
didn't put that in according to naming convention. But it really helps because then when appointments come up, I can see who the appointment is for, what the appointment is, location of the appointment, and we're just all in sync and we're all on the same page. And that really helps when it comes to just making sure that you are where you need to be, that you don't overcommit and double book yourself too. So just the planning aspect of it, I think is really important for how you or just take a look at your organizational system and say, do I need to change that, adjust that? Maybe I want to try a bullet journal. Maybe I want to try a printed planner. Um, those are some things that in this time it's important to reevaluate.
Absolutely. I am a proponent for paper planning,
Mhm.
um, particularly if you are distracted by digital devices. If you get on your phone for one thing and end up on there for 2 or 3 hours because you've been distracted by all the dings and the pings and the notifications, um, paper planning eliminates some of those distractions. And having, you know, I like to say what gets written gets worked on. And
Mhm.
so having some place to write down um, what you need to do, keep track of where you need to be, keep track of um, how you're going to go about doing it, particularly with planning. If you have it in front of you, it's really easy, I'll say, to um, look at what's on your plate. And when you are about to work on something or breaking your task down into smaller pieces, where is the time for those smaller pieces going to fit?
Mhm. Yeah.
And so, using your planner, or even if you use a digital planner or a digital calendar, using it for more than appointments, actually using it for planning. You
Mhm.
know, in my household, to avoid conflicts, I'm I'm more I use digital products more than my husband does, and so I have my paper planner, I have my digital calendar, but I also have a calendar on the refrigerator for his benefit so that there are no conflicts in our scheduling because he, you know,
Mhm.
likes to see on paper. And so my version of paper for the benefit of both of us is a calendar, a dry erase calendar on the refrigerator where
Mhm.
we, color code what's going on in our household.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. So there's many ways to do this, and
Yeah.
I love what you said about putting the time that you work on some of these things on the calendar too, being very I guess, very cognizant of those holds and how many minutes it's going to take you to do whatever it is, right? So
Mhm.
if you're going apple picking or if you're working on a particular project, put how long you're working on that project. Most people will throw it on as like a daily, all day thing. Work on project, okay. But if
Right.
you have multiple meetings that are coming in and that are on your calendar, like where are you going to work on that project? It then
Yes.
makes that important thing that's on your calendar, which is work on the project, basically having to bow down to all the little hour long, half hour long meetings, and you're trying to fit it in somewhere. So if it's important, like what's written is worked on, but write it in the right place, put it in the right place in your digital calendar, color code it if it's really important on the different priorities perhaps that you have in your business, and put it in the right time slot. If you want 1 hour uninterrupted, put it in there as 1 hour uninterrupted. And when you work on it, put on your do not disturb so that you are able to, designate all of that time towards what you're doing. So, those are just tips to help you to just organize your lifestyle. So, because what people see in reality, like you said, there's insta ready versus reality. Most people
Mhm.
probably see that you're getting it all, you do it all together, you show up with a smile. That's great. But what happens on the back end to you getting there? And I think we're talking about, we want it to be easier for you to get to that snapshot picture where you got it all together, instead of it being a chaotic moment in the background and you having it all together. Let's organize a little bit better so that we can make it be more ease in that situation.
That's absolutely true. And, when we think about organizing, I've heard different things. It doesn't take all that. It doesn't, that's not necessary. I remember, instead of writing things down, but creating systems and processes, organizing your life in a way that supports you
Mm-hmm.
is really important. Organizing, being disorganized, it costs you time, it costs you money,
Mm-hmm.
it costs you, it changes your disposition really. If you start out organized, disorganized, sometimes you go through the day disorganized. And there are studies and research that show, particularly for women, if your home is chaotic and disorganized,
Yeah.
it adds to your stress level. And we
Mm-hmm.
want to avoid stress, like we talked about yesterday. We
Mm-hmm.
want to, it adds to your stress level. You start out stressed and you go through the day stressed and end your day stressed.
Mm. That doesn't sound good, Teresa.
It does not, and it's not. And organizing, while there are a lot of decisions to be made to organize your life in a way that supports you and supports your goals and support the way you want to live,
Mm-hmm.
it is worth it. My pastor always says preparation time is never wasted time. So
Mm-hmm.
if you look at organizing as preparation, it's not a waste of time to do. And it does take all that if you want a foundation for going after your goals.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I agree. Let's talk, just to dig in a little bit more, let's talk about some digital organization tips, because that's something that, like, kind of working on something with that. But then
Mhm.
also, I want to give people tips on how to organize digitally too, because we talked about some of the planner components of our lives, but what about our phones and our emails, like you were talking about, some of the files that we have to work on. Like, what are some things that you've done, that you've guided your clients on, that can help people that may come to this out of their digital digital delusions? Or I'm trying to find something fun to say, but just the overwhelm of digital
Mhm.
clutter.
Mhm. So I would say you can't organize without first decluttering.
Hmm.
That is how I approach organizing. If you're going to organize, you organize what you need, what you have that you're going to keep. Get rid of first that you don't need, whether it's physical or digital. In 1999, when you took that class, do you still need that information?
Yes.
It's likely outdated. So delete,
Hmm.
declutter, or if you have to hold on to it, put it on some external something that you know you can go to if ever you need it. You won't, but if you ever do, you'll have it somewhere.
Yeah.
But organize in a way that allows you to, one, know what you have, know where it is, and that it's easily accessible, and
Hmm.
make sure that it fits you. I mentioned earlier organizing using somebody else's system. That's not going to work for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not going to work for you. You can take somebody else's system, organize your files or your phone or whatever in the same way, and it is going to drive you bonkers. You will not know where anything is because there was no input from you as to how you use your documents or how you use your apps or how you use your programs. So, or you have to organize, one, delete, declutter, organize in a way that you function. What do you need to function every day? When you think of looking for a file, yes, you can always use the search. But after a while, as you accumulate documents, a lot of your documents, if you're, working in a particular area, a lot of your documents are going to say the same thing. So even if you search, you're going to come up with a zillion documents that you have to tread through in order to find what you need. And so when you think about digital organizing, you have to come up with a structure, a structure that fits what you do. Do you need, and keep it simple. Don't have a file for every, with one document in it.
Yeah.
Create a structure that has the structure that you need. Do you need something for your personal life? Do you need something, what do you need for your business? What do you need for your personal life? And don't combine those two, because you need to be able to go to what you need when you need it. And creating a naming convention, using naming conventions that resonate with you.
Yeah.
Even if it's paper, your filing system should resonate with you. If color coding resonates more with you, use color coding. Or if you're, chronological ABCD 1, 2, 3 does not work for everybody. Set it up in a way that works for you.
Yeah, no, those are really great points. I would, just to add on to that, I would say, organize also for the future and organize for if anything were to happen, we don't want anything to happen. But if anything were to happen where you're not able to be there and someone else has to come in and really jump into the middle of your world and find it, will they have a hard time finding it? Just asking yourself that and asking yourself, well, how can I make this easy to find? Does it make sense? Make it make sense. If it doesn't make sense to you, then most likely it's not making sense to anyone else that might have to come in. And when you're a person, let's say at home, perhaps you're a person like me, that I'm probably the person that is doing a lot of the filing and a lot of the things at home. If I were to just chuck it into one folder, that's not going to be helpful. So many times, like we have our photos on an external hard drive and cloud. We have them organized in the same manner by the year and then by the event. So you can click into, oh, what happened in 2014? Oh, what about so-and-so's birthday? Boom, there's all your pictures for that. And then pictures for miscellaneous. I mean, those things help. Most of the time, you're not necessarily knowing how you want to organize when you're first starting off something. So now's always a good time, because over the course of the year, you're throwing things in like probably a folder at least. But after you get towards the end of the year, you're kind of, that folder probably has a lot of stuff in it, but you can go back and say, you know what? I had a lot of files around that specific project. So I'm going to create another subfolder for that project to make these items easier to find. So those are the kind of things that you can do when it comes to some of that digital clutter. And I agree with you, Teresa, like, there might be just random things that you have to download, right? Random ebooks, random things that are not going to be able to be of much consequence to you now. Maybe they're in your download, your download tab. Just go through and just delete them. If you haven't referenced anything or put it in a protected place within the last year, then at most likely you're not necessarily going to need it. And it should be okay to go ahead and delete those things. And for email, I always tell people there are so many apps out there. Superhuman is one that I'm definitely like starting to really like. You also have like the declutter app, like making sure that you're able to rely on something if you end up having that 40,000 email messages that you need to clean up. And that can be inundating, can it? It can be just a lot just to say, oh my goodness, I have to clean this up now. There are apps out
Mhm.
there to help you with that. And
Mhm.
making sure that you use your sort, sort by a specific company or a specific phrase to get those things all collected in one place and just hit
Mhm.
massively delete on. So those are some tips. I also like digitally your phone and all the apps. Like everybody has an app for everything, and most likely you're downloading the app in order to use the one thing. Um, so going back and just doing a little bit of a audit check on, okay, how many swipes do I have to go over before I'm at the end of my app screen? And if you kind of are getting into number two and number three, then you may need to start to delete a lot of your apps and ask yourself,
Mhm.
why is this important to me? How often do I use this? Maybe I can, simplify my screen on my phone a little bit more and put things into folders. I think all phones
Mhm.
have folders on your app screen that you can do it. And I think I have it like productivity apps or graphic apps, or that way when I look at my phone, it's not overwhelming because that can take a toll on you trying to find things. That it's organized. You can click on the folder, click where you need to go. So those are just like, I mean, I can go on and on.
Mhm.
Those are just a few tips, because I feel like a lot of people, there's so much email and there's so much stuff coming into
Yeah.
us, and we need to be able to kind of like process it and get it back out and not let it just
Yeah.
hold up space in our lives in different areas.
Absolutely. And, related to email, I use and have my clients use an app called Unroll Me. And
Oh,
it
yes.
takes
Hmm.
your subscriptions, all the things you've given your email for. You can either keep it, unenroll, or, have it not come into your inbox. It'll
Hmm.
go into one email that you get however often you want to see, for you to see if you want to continue to get that,
Hmm.
be on that email list. So Unroll Me is one that is really great. And also for emails, um, use folders for things that you want to keep. Think about, do you think in projects, do you need to schedule things, or file things in projects, or do, by client name? What is it that you need for your function?
Hmm.
And set up your folder structure to be able to easily move things or set up rules. I use Outlook. Outlook, you can set up rules
I love rules.
to where, if something is hitting your inbox and it's
Mhm.
related to a specific thing, it goes automatically into that folder. So
I
use your technology the way that it can help you to be more organized.
Yeah, the rules, I mean, is overlooked. Don't I
Yes.
feel as though the rules, you can use rules. I have a MacBook, so you can use rules on their email. You can use rules on the Gmail, on Outlook. There are an opportunity for probably every platform to have rules, and it's like if you're not leveraging that, that's such a
Yes.
big piece to just keeping you organized and keeping you on point, and even responding to people because you can create auto responses too
Yes.
certain things. So definitely find different ways to automate your life. And I feel like that kind of goes into organization in a bit, in a way, because you're organizing your response to something that happens every single week or every single month that you have to hit compose and type out a new email. Why not just automate a response or create a rule that something happens right
Hmm.
to it, to make it easy for you. I love that you brought up rules. That's so important.
Yeah, they definitely make things easier and
Mhm.
keep you from having 35,000,
Yeah,
25,000
you
emails in
know,
your inbox.
goodness. Yeah, I know. I was there, like, and I kind of can be still there sometimes, especially, working in corporate. You will have clients that will come and say, "Remember 5 years ago? Remember when you first came on as our, vendor? What did we say then?" I was like, that was 10 years ago. And I would have to go and search those emails up. So there's you do have to be discerning about, like, okay, these are important emails to keep because that's a CYA email, or that's an email
Absolutely.
that I need to keep. But the whole thank you, or you just,
Received.
yeah, no, get those things out of there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I think part of the struggle is the CYA component. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to need this someday, or what if
Mm-hmm.
I need this, and we, physical, digital, whatever kind of organizing, I
Mm-hmm.
always run into that. I
Yeah.
might need that someday. What if this or what if that? And my answer is always, you won't. But
Yeah.
if you do, you're borrowing or spending
Mm-hmm.
today's resources for something that may or may not happen in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's space, you're using up your memory and your RAM or whatever it's called on your computer. You are using up space in your office or in your workspace or in your home
Mm-hmm.
for things, or that will likely not happen.
Yeah.
There are studies that show that documents and paper that we save, 80% of the time we never go back and look at it again.
Yep.
So let it
That's
go.
very
Stop
true.
using your resources for today, spending it on some future what if.
Yes, and that goes for that dress. That dress that you have that you're like, oh my gosh, one day I'm gonna fit in that dress, but I can't fit in it now. So you're gonna have to make a decision, right? Are you fitting in it now? Are you doing the things you need to do you know, to deal with that challenge now?
That's absolutely right.
If not, sell the dress, give it to your daughter, do something.
Is there a current
Right.
goal, activity that's going to get you back into that dress?
Right.
If not, let it go.
Let it go.
Let it go. Let it go.
Yeah. It can be so hard to let it go, I tell you. But it's freeing when you do,
It
So,
is.
yeah.
You free
Yeah.
your mind and your space.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
That was good. That was good.
Another thing about organization is that, you know, it just helps you just flow in life better.
Mhm.
And, you can change your entire disposition for the day just from having to look for your keys. There are, statistics that say we spend a year or so out of our lifetime looking for things, whether
Mhm.
it's, physical or digital. We look for things all the time.
Mhm.
Studies show that in corporations, a lot of time is spent searching for things. Now imagine, you're paying Joe or Gene money to look for stuff.
Yeah.
When another thing that this organization does, as I'm thinking about being in corporate, if your office is junky, or if you have to, or I'll say disorganized, I don't like the word junky. If your office is disorganized, if you always appear to feel underwater, to appear to be underwater,
Mm.
you are less likely to be considered for a promotion.
Yeah.
That is going to impact how you are promoted or how you're looked upon. A cluttered office is going to give the impression that you are underwater, that
Yeah.
you are swamped and you don't have space for that promotion that you were wanted, or that project that you are best equipped to do, but are passed over because you appear to always be discombobulated.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's so true. If you don't have it together and you're always have to look for things, or if you're always trying to get it together, and especially when a leader is asking for something, they're going to see you as a person that isn't organized. And therefore, if there's any kind of promotion, anything that you're looking to do, they are going to take that into consideration. That's now a part of your brand, right? Um, just how you're organized and how you're responding to certain things while you're in the office. So yeah, it's important to practice that habit of being organized always, so that you will always be prepared for finding your resources, for stowing things away, and for when you're looking towards, the future, right? Towards the new year. Like we've been talking about, this is all for like looking towards the new year and doing what we need to do now so that we are more organized later.
That's absolutely right.
Mhm.
And, consider the impact that being disorganized is having on your life.
Mhm.
Um, and I'll share an illustration. So, say, you got up in the morning and you did, as we talked about yesterday, you hyped yourself up. You
Mhm.
did your affirmations, you've done your prayer, you've worked out, and you are ready to go. You got your outfit, picked out because you're meeting with that, top client today.
Mhm.
And so you have your outfit picked out, but then you go to put your shoes on and you can't find them.
Mhm.
But then, thankfully, you realize that your shoes that you're looking for are in that cute basket that you bought when you organized your entryway. But as things would be, you go to the basket and you've had to pull out all the shoes because your shoes were at the bottom of the 15 pair that were in the basket.
Mhm.
So you finally find your shoes and you are on your way out the door, but you're kind of starting to feel stressed because you had to look for your shoes.
Mhm.
And then you can't find your keys because you don't have a system or a process in place to put your keys somewhere where you can always go to them. So now you're running late. The
Mhm.
30 minutes that you were going to use to prepare for your client, 20 of those have been eaten up.
Mhm.
So you finally get out the door, you go to the office, and you have to find that digital document that you absolutely need to meet with this top client.
Mhm.
And of course, you used the filing system that worked well for your colleague, and you can't find it.
Mhm. Mhm.
So you wing it. You get through it, you get through the day, and it's time to go home. You're like, whew, I made it, right?
Yeah.
On your way home, you recognize that you need to stop at the store because you don't have any saffron for the paella you promised your family that evening. So you stop at the store, and of course, you didn't get the saffron when you went to the store because you don't use a grocery shopping list. So you get to the store, you get the saffron, you come home, but by then, the dinner you promised your family, you really want to do takeout, but you've already blown through, you've been busy. So you've already blown through your takeout budget for this month and next month. So you need to cook this meal. So you cook the meal, you're taking out all the other spices that you need. And oh my goodness, you already had some saffron.
Mhm.
So you spent money on more saffron. Saffron is not cheap. All because your spices aren't organized because it doesn't take all that. So you get through the meal, you have a great meal, and all you want to do is go to bed. But then you think about the studying you needed to do for that certification that you're pursuing, for that promotion that you want, or that new client that you want to get. But you're tired, and so you have to put it off. You go to bed, and you have to squeeze in your studying right before the exam you have to take. for your certification.
Mm.
Organization impacts your entire life. And when you're disorganized, it flows over into other things. It impacts your time, it impacts your money, it impacts your space, impacts the way you function, it impacts your ability to go after your goals wholeheartedly.
Yeah. It's a lifestyle.
It is a
It's a
lifestyle.
lifestyle. And, we go back to what organization, like, how do you organize according to your lifestyle? That's something that you have to kind of figure out. Um, and, there's a woman who wrote a book. She has a really good name for her book that I'm trying to bring up right now, but it's really talking about um, controlling like your house, and overwhelmed. I probably have it back here, but
Mhm.
just very good about saying that, like, you don't have to be like perfect, right? But you have to have some type of guiding guiding organizational kind of lifestyle around what you do every single day, um, and allow yourself to not be perfect, right? Um, which is really helpful. But
Yeah.
what you described is kind of like how a lot of people probably are, right? Because we're all moving so fast, and we feel like, oh, we don't have
Mhm.
time to actually put some of these things in place, and it doesn't matter. I'll just wing it. But you don't really see the true cost of not being organized, not using your list, not writing things down, not just having that declutter taken away. You don't see what the true cost is, and there is a cost
Mhm.
to that. It really is the invisible cost that's there, but you definitely lose out on not necessarily being as organized as you could be.
Yeah, and you definitely, all the little things, they add up to one big thing,
Hmm.
the
They do.
cost of your dreams, or the cost of, that deadline, or the cost
Hmm.
of you not getting to where it is you truly want to be.
Hmm.
But in thinking about organizing, you have to consider what's organized enough for you. We talked about the
Hmm.
Insta ready and the, pristine and the perfection.
Hmm.
The more pristine you are, the more maintenance you have to do.
Hmm. Yeah.
And so consider what's organized enough for you to
Hmm.
create order in your life so that you can function at a higher level.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's good. Awesome stuff. So how have you seen in your experience that you're able to have a develop a lifestyle system of organization and have that flow year to year
Mhm.
and work well?
Mhm. You really have to first declutter, get rid of all the things that are not serving your current life,
Mhm.
and create a schedule for yourself where you maintain that um, decluttering.
Yeah.
So say once a month or once a quarter, you go through your downloads and get rid of the things that you really don't need. Set
Mm.
up a system to consistently weed out things that you don't need.
Mhm.
And then set up processes and systems that allow you to flow, um, so that you don't have to keep going back and redoing it. Now, it's good to evaluate when you do set up a system, to evaluate whether it's working and to tweak it. There's no one and done, you
Mhm.
know, but there's one, you do it in there and there's some space, but you do need to evaluate whether or not the system or the process that you set up um, is working for you. Now, that doesn't mean, throw the baby out with the bathwater. That doesn't mean get rid of the whole thing if it's not working. Think about what's working and what isn't. If it's working, leave it alone. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
But think about what's not working and do something about that.
Yeah. 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 I love it. I feel like anyone listening today will walk away with some really good tips on how to organize, some areas to look at, and be able to set some more intentions around what those organizing, goals are for themselves. I like how you said, like, be intentional about when you do it. Maybe you have a organization month and then have a decluttering month and alternate between the two. It's all about what works for you, but it's got to get done. Got to get
Absolutely.
done, because if it doesn't, it's just going to stack up, stack up, stack up, and then you end up having 30,000 emails, and then that can be pretty inundating. Um, but we all have to start somewhere, and having a plan for yourself is really key. So I feel like, for those that are listening, write down some tips on what you heard today and some things that maybe pop out at you and say, I want to get my emails organized during this season. That's going to help me with being more proactive for the next year. Or
Mhm.
I need a planner. I need a planner. I need to start putting things in digitally, or changing how I put things into my calendar, so that I'm not missing a whole bunch of things that next year. um, and those things are really definitely important. So I hope that everyone's able to do that. I know that there are some things that came up that I'm like, yep, I should do that a little bit better. And, because we can always tweak and adjust things too. It doesn't always have to be the same way. You can change how you do it. You can try out another app. You can do something different in order to get yourself to your goals. And speaking of goals, what do you think about goals? Because most people say, I don't want to do goals because that's just too stressful, right? To have a goal. And we talked about yesterday how not necessarily that it can be a goal, it can be like the goalpost that you can always move it away. But some people like to set some intentions around things too. What do you think about setting intentions versus setting goals?
Well, I think, you have to identify, as we talked about with organizing and with, burnout, you have to identify what works for you. There is no cookie cutter solution that's going to work for everybody. You have to identify what works for you. Is it, what keeps you more motivated? Goals, breaking your goals down into smaller pieces, or, just, setting intentions. What keeps you motivated? What keeps you moving forward? Um, because what worked for Sally is not going to work for you.
Right. Very true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you? What are your
I
thoughts?
think that, whatever works for you, but the answer isn't just go with the flow and and
Right.
and figuring it out. That is necessarily just you're working against yourself, because pretty much when you're a little bit more prepared, then you're able to kind of get through other areas of your life, with ease. So I feel like there should be some intention set or some goal set. I like setting goals, and they're pretty much they are intentions. I'm not hard on myself if I don't meet that goal. I don't feel shameful if I don't meet it, but I know that it can be fluid, but that helps me to make those steps towards it. And so when it comes to organization, it's about, okay, well, what can I do? I really like that idea of having a month for organizing and a month for decluttering, and perhaps putting that in my calendar so that I can set some intentional time to it. I don't think that there's anything wrong with that.
Right.
Because if you just wait for the world to just deliver you what you need to work on, you're working on everybody else's stuff. You're working on everything else that's delivered to you, and not necessarily things that you want to be intentional about.
That's absolutely true. And, you know, be intentional, set goals, but be realistic about it. If
Mhm,
you need to, revamp your digital life,
mhm.
know that that's not going to take a day.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
So break it down into smaller pieces,
Mhm.
start small, build momentum. have some milestones, celebrate and reward yourself for what you've done already, like we talked about yesterday, not how far you have to go,
Yeah.
but reward yourself and celebrate what you've done each step of the way, and keep moving forward.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, I think that's a wonderful note to end on. This has been a great hour of talking about organization and really just kind of drilling down into how we can organize, what to organize, and setting intentions for that next year. As we wrap up, Teresa, are there any final thoughts around organization that you wanted to share?
Um, the first thing is a reminder to declutter first and organize what you have left. Let your life be organized in a way that supports your current life, not your past life.
Hmm.
Those are two of the main things.
Yeah, yeah. Yep, I do like that. Thank you. And I would just say, just be intentional about this. It is important. You are losing out on not being organized, whether you want to know that or not. Like there is a cost behind like you not organizing yourself. So, what do you have to lose? If it's costing you and it's been costing you, then what do you have less to lose? All you have to do is be able to gain in this situation by setting some organization to your life, tweaking it, doing some refinements, doing some adjustments, and it's okay. Just think of it like spring cleaning, thinking of seasonal cleaning, right? And set aside that time to do it. You will not be disappointed when you do. You feel so
Mhm.
good. I'm pretty sure there's a dopamine hit somewhere in there that you're
Absolutely.
able to get by doing that
Yeah.
organization. So it's been a pleasure, Teresa, for this. Tomorrow, we are back here again at
Yes.
11 a.m. and we're going to talk about productivity. So, we talked about, not being burned out as we're ending this year. We talked about how we're able to get organized and get ready for what's next in the new year. But we're also going to talk about how can we maximize those efforts? How can we start the year ahead of the game? How can we be more productive? How can we elevate our productivity? So this is going to be a really fantastic
Yes.
discussion to wrap up on, and we're going to bring it, right, Teresa? We're going to bring it.
Absolutely. We are going to bring it.
Yeah,
Yes. So that you are, crushing it in fourth quarter and crushing it in the new year. Absolutely.
absolutely. So thank you all for joining us again. Leave us comments, leave us questions so that we can know what's on your mind as you're listening to this series. And let me just drop our links real quick before you go. So if you would like to connect with Teresa, there is her email, her website. I have
Yes.
it on the screen for you. You could do a screenshot on that. And then if you are wanting to connect with myself, it's plannersonpurpose.com. Go ahead and reach out. We would love to connect with you and talk with you and see how we can help support you in any effort that you might have. But until next time, we will talk to y'all very, very soon. Have a good
All
rest of
right.
the
Bye.
day.